a pretty interesting last 2 weeks, seeing how we got a train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, and of course we've got all kinds of reports of other things going on. We've had, what else is it? Flying balloons all over the place, people saying it's UFOs, and all of a sudden alien talk and all that crazy stuff. But yet here we are talking about Russia and Ukraine. Now, guys, this video right here is going to be a little bit longer. I'd say probably around 20 minutes because a lot of things are obviously going on. But I kind of sort of need to talk about how it is that I think this war will end. Now, guys, first and foremost, I want to go ahead and throw this out here. Go ahead and give you guys a bit of a scheduling update. This right is going to be a pretty busy weekend. As a matter of fact, next week as a whole, at least the first few days, are probably going to be pretty busy. So a lot of the content that I'm going to be releasing is content that I either made the day before or 2 days before. The reason why, obviously, is because a lot of it's going to be in project form. And I want to go ahead and throw that in and out. As far as this video right here is concerned, this video right here will be released on this video right here will be released on Short Timer Prepping on Saturday. And then it will get a re-release on Sunday on the John Claymore channel. There will be another video, however, that will be released tomorrow, which is going to be discussing the whole, let's just say this right here. There was a video that was scheduled to come out today on Friday talking about this woke minister, this woke pastor that you guys are actually seeing that I'm actually put over the in the cutaway here. But I think it serves a much, much larger purpose, meaning that there's going to be a much, much larger video because the whole Matt Walsh fighting back against the YouTube personalities thing deserves a bit of a follow-up. And, of course, this has got something to do with it because of his rebuttal. Now, with that there being said, let's go ahead and get into this entire discussion. Now, guys, right now we are sending billions and billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. And it makes you wonder exactly how Ukraine's leadership actually feels about this.
Suggesting that a growing number of Americans believe that the US is giving too much support to Ukraine. What would your message be on the anniversary to those Americans? Thank you.
I would like to thank the American people. I would like to thank all of the American people that are supporting Ukraine, the Congress, the President, the TV channels, the journalists, and everyone that has been supporting us. And that percentage of Americans, as you've mentioned, is increasing. I can tell them only one thing. If they do not change their opinion, if they do not understand us, if they do not support Ukraine, they will lose NATO, they will lose the clout of the United States, they will lose the leadership position that they are enjoying in the world, that they are enjoying for a very fair reason, and they will lose the support of the country with 40 million of population, with millions of children. Are American children any different than ours? Don't Americans enjoy the same things as we do? I don't think we're that different. And
before I expand on what you guys just said, I want to go ahead and say this to all the I support the current thing crowd, all the I'm very, very pro-Ukraine crowd. Let me ask you guys a serious question. Have you guys ever carried a rifle or ever considered joining the military? Because, see, a lot of people right now who are all pro the war in Ukraine, a lot of them are people who, quite frankly, have never fought, ever thought about even enlisting in the military, and chances are probably never will. This is one of the reasons why I don't take their thoughts seriously in this matter. It seems to me like Ukraine at this moment in time, and I got to kind of watch my language here because I know that YouTube is listening in, because you can't exactly say anything negative without exactly, how do I say, getting a bit of a bump or a bit of a hit downwards. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick by the position that I've always had. My position has always been that I support the Ukrainian people, but I do not support giving boatloads of money to that country, especially given the fact that that country there originally told us that they had this under control or that they could actually do this. And now, of course, they're screaming for more help from NATO. And, of course, NATO is not exactly... Let's just put it this way here, not America's tax obligation, even though we tend to treat it like they are. Fact of the matter is this right here. I think that NATO, for the most part, sucks off the United States. Now, I'm not against NATO. I'm not against that at all. I think what should happen is that these people should contribute a lot more. And they were for a while there. And I guess right now, they're just going to be relying on the U.S. and the American taxpayer. I don't exactly like this. But there are some things that kind of sort of do need to be discussed. Now, the whole purpose here, I guess, from what I'm understanding, is that the United States and NATO, they wanted to go ahead and get Russia to kind of punch itself out now, so that way Russia's incoming military buildup would be absolutely null and void. I have said from the beginning, of course, I did about 3 or 4 videos on this. By the way, I'm going to be leaving a link to this channel right here, Caspian Report. They have a lot of very, very good stuff on this video. And, of course, they're even talking about the attack on Crimea, meaning that the Ukrainians are going to try to retake Crimea. It's a very ill-advised move, and I'll explain why in this video. The thing is this right here, though. We're putting a lot of money into an effort to an enemy that I, quite frankly, don't believe wants to, give up. You see, Russia right now, we're being told that people don't have the stomach to fight, but then we're getting reports saying that the Russian people are actually very, very much in favor of this war. Now, many people made fun of Dr. Jordan Peterson over this video here, and this is kind of the crux of where I want to kind of go with before we went any further. People made fun of him because he believed that this entire fight was a spiritual fight. He thought it was actually a war that was being fought mostly, I'll put it this way here, I'll leave the video in the description box, but very, very briefly, what he was trying to say was that it was more of a spiritual war than you might would think. I personally think that wars are multi-layered and that there are a lot more reasons for a war. Let me give you an example of what I mean. World War I, the common accepted reason for World War I was that the Archduke Franz Ferdinand had been assassinated. That right there was the reason why they decided to go to war. In reality, what was really going on is that you had a bunch of countries that were trying to find reasons to, let's just say, get that entire region under control. Talking about Serbia, talking about all the nations that, by the way, were the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In reality, the Archduke's assassination was really just the excuse. As a matter of fact, the Archduke, it is said that when he was assassinated, the people of Austria didn't exactly... They weren't exactly, excited about the fact of going to war. They didn't even really care. Basically, it was just a great big giant excuse. Now, it's very, very possible that Putin could be using what the Orthodox Church is telling him as an excuse. Let me go ahead and kind of roll this right quick so that way you guys can kind of see where I'm going with this.
Исторические факты, не прекращают нападки на нашу культуру, на русскую православную церковь, другие традиционные религиозные организации нашей страны. Посмотрите, что они делают со своими собственными народами. Разрушение семьи, культурной и национальной идентичности, извращение, издевательство над детьми вплоть до педофилии объявляются нормой их жизни. А священнослужители, священников принуждают благословлять однополые браки. Да Бог с ними, пускай что хотят, то и делают. Что здесь хочется сказать? Взрослые люди имеют право жить, как хотят. Мы к этому так и относились в России, и всегда к этому будем так относиться. Никто в частную жизнь не вторгается, и мы не собираемся этого делать. Но хочется им сказать, посмотрите, извините меня, священные писания, главные книги всех других мировых религий. Там все сказано, в том числе то, что семья – это союз мужчины и женщины. Но и эти священные тексты подвергаются сейчас сомнению. Но вот, как стало известно, англиканская церковь, например, планирует, правда, пока только еще, рассмотреть идею гендерно-нейтрального Бога. Что скажешь? Прости, Господи, не ведают, что творят. Миллионы людей на Западе понимают, что их ведут к настоящей духовной катастрофе. Элиты, прямо надо сказать, просто сходят с ума, и это, похоже, уже не лечится. Но это их проблема, как я уже сказал, а мы обязаны защитить наших детей. И мы сделаем это, защитим наших детей от
Putin views the United States, or the current leadership of the United States, he views it as sort of the bringing of the NWO. Obviously, we have to kind of watch our words here, or else we'll get labels on the videos, and next thing you know, the video gets docked. Fact of the matter is this right here. The United States is, in fact, acting like this. However, I think what Putin may be, I don't know if he's underestimating or if he's overestimating. I can't exactly figure out at this point. What he doesn't realize there's a lot more people in this country that, quite frankly, do not want this war. They want the tax dollars to stop. People are beginning to get tired of it. Fact of the matter is that war is always popular, but only momentarily, only briefly here in the United States. And you can only hope that a regime change will occur here. Now, the thing you have to understand, though, about this situation is that I personally, as far as America's involvement is concerned, I think our involvement in this really goes back a lot further than you think. And as I said before, wars are multifaceted. It's not just some spiritual thing. It's not just some economical thing. It's typically a combination of them all. Like I said before, people made fun of Jordan Peterson about it, but I'm going to go ahead and give you one that's probably going to get panned as well. But at this moment in time, I really and truly don't care. The reasons why we've had issues with Russia go all the way back to post-World War II. You see, I'm a believer that America did, in fact, win World War II. Russia did not win World War II. I'm sorry, it's just the way that it is. If you look at the actual Lend-Lease agreement that we gave them, which, by the way, all these leftists love to run their mouth about, and don't worry, we'll create a project down the road on why it is America actually won World War II. The fact is we gave them all the material. We gave them the vast majority of the material that they needed to fight that fight. Also, to go on top of this, Stalin had actually joined Hitler initially before the war really got hot after Poland. And then to go on top of that, we were hitting the beaches in we were hitting the beaches in Sicily when Hitler was launching his next attack into Kursk. Hitler had to pull back. Now, many people believe that Hitler was going to lose Kursk anyways. I tend to think that at best it probably would have turned into a bloody draw that would have blunted the Soviet Union, and it probably would have delayed the inevitable or maybe delayed the process, giving Hitler more time to use his special weapons, which, by the way, one of those was the Tiger tanks, which he then redirected from that front and sent to Sicily. The thing is this right here. When World War II ended, we had a golden opportunity to ensure that Russia would not expand itself. Now, somebody's probably going to say this is going to sound contradictory, but hear me out for a second. You have to know the right amount of pressure, okay? You have to put the right amount of pressure on something. Let me explain what I mean. When World War II was ending, we allowed Stalin to go into Berlin, okay? When we did that, the Roosevelt administration was already planning on giving Stalin a little bit more than what we should have. The Truman administration, they obviously didn't fight back. And next thing you know, Eastern Europe kind of fell under the cloak of the Soviet Union. Me personally, I agreed 100% with what George S. Patton had said. Of course, this scene is dramatized in the film Patton, but of course there was an actual, let's just say that there was a great big giant divide going on in the military. A lot of Americans, especially a lot of generals, especially Patton, felt that what we should have done was that we should have kicked our behinds out of Germany right then and there. Basically, what he was trying to say is that we should have restarted the war and used the Germans to refight that war. After World War II was over with, the Germans still had a lot of able-bodied men, a lot of able-bodied equipment. And as a matter of fact, when Operation Valkyr occurred, this would be the July Plot of 1944, a lot of people forget to mention that Germany, if they had removed Hitler, if they were able to remove Heinrich Himmler, their plan was to strike a treaty with the West, not the East. Their plan was to empty the concentration camps. Essentially, don't worry, you guys can always look it up there and fact check this if you want to. I'll even leave a document in the description box, and of course, I may even do a project at a later date on this. But the fact of the matter is this right here. What happened was that they wanted to continue the war on the Eastern Front. They were going to, as a pure part of the negotiations, they were going to give up the Jews. They were going to say, look, man, we're done with the concentration camps. We'll turn over the biggest conspirators. We'll turn over the people who actually launched the final solution. We'll give this up. Just make sure that just to stay out of our business so that way we can take on Russia. The plan was to kick Russia as far east as Poland. That was their plan. They were going to give them everything except for Poland and Czechoslovakia and Eastern Europe. That right there is actually what we should have done. And if we had maybe crushed Russia, and this right here, by the way, if we had done this at that time, it would have crushed Russia. Now, many people believe that we would have lost that war. I personally don't think so. You see, when World War II ended, Russia, for the most part, was in fact crippled. Okay, they were not as strong as you might have thought that they were. Yes, there was a heavy amount of manpower, but they had lost a lot of manpower. Not only was there a massive loss in manpower, they wouldn't have been able to use as much of U.S. equipment, which, by the way, would have mostly been exhausted. Now, granted, they did have a massive reserve, but at that point in time, we had a much, much larger reserve, and we had a lot more factors going in our favor to actually fight that fight. What we should have done, kicked them out of Germany, kicked them as far east as Poland, sat back, winter 1945. They would have counter-assaulted. We probably would have held our ground, then re-counter-assaulted, kicked them right back into Russia and tell them don't go any further. Of course, they may have tried to assault again, but if that really was the case, then you could have gone in there as a liberator. Now, going into Russia is never a good idea, so we had no idea exactly how far that was going to go. But this entire thing stems all the way back to a mistake that we made, and the mistake that we made was we allowed Russia to gain too much. And ever since then, anytime we've pushed Russia back, we've always had this massive sense of paranoia. They're going to try to rebuild their military. They're going to try to make it larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. Well, when the Soviet Union capitulated, they had completely fallen apart. Now, somebody's going to say that this right here is going to sound a little bit anti-patriotic, or you're going to try to point the finger. No. If anything, I'm saying that I felt at that time maybe the moves that we were making possibly were justified. The problem is that we went too far with it. Beyond Poland, did we really and truly need to expand NATO any further? I mean, did we really truly need to do that? Poland, by the way, is a very, very key, is a main key country here. You see, what bothers me is that Putin is going to try not only, and I've been saying this for a while, not only would he try in Ukraine, but now you've got this issue going on in Armenia. You've got this issue going on in Azerbaijan. Okay, you've got all this crap going on there, and then to go on top of that, you've also got this Belt and I think it's the Belt and Road Initiative from China, but then you've also got this new Middle Eastern, this Central Asian corridor that's being built. Now, this railway system that's being built is being built in the Stan countries, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan. You'll see that in one of those Caspian report videos. By the way, I advise you guys to go check out that channel. It's an extremely good channel, much, much larger channel than mine, but very informative. I'll try to leave that particular video in the description box, but of course the channel will still be there. I advise you guys to watch all their videos because all their videos are pretty good. But you'll kind of see what the hell is going on here. Well, now you've got Russia talking to China. You've got Turkey. You've got Iran, which, by the way, looks a lot like Gog and Magog. Don't worry. Bible prophecy will probably come up a little bit sometime tomorrow, which I don't really like to do on this channel because it's not really a channel that is designed to be preachy. But I'm definitely going to say something on Sunday about it, especially when we get to the whole Matt Walsh piece, which involves that what doesn't involve the woke minister, but I'm using it to kind of explain what's going on here. Now, I personally think that a president that cannot walk up a flight of stairs is a president that ultimately at the end of the day will not be respected or liked even by his enemies or even by his friends. You see, one of the problems that we had when Obama was in office is that NATO itself, the leadership, they didn't even like Obama then. They thought Barack Hussein Obama was a very, very weak leader. Well, right now we're kind of dealing with a continuation of the Obama administration. That is what the hell this is. I mean, Joe's not even really and truly in charge. Think about it. Do you honestly think this guy is really and truly in charge? They see him stumbling. They see him giving all the money we have, not to mention the fact that he was screaming the other day during the State of the Union address for 10 more years of oil, which, by the way, tells me that all their plans have backfired. Why would you need that oil if we're going green? You need that oil because everything that you've been trying to do, this whole 2020, 2030 Great Reset stuff, it's already freaking failed. That right there may be a project down the road, which, by the way, YouTube may have already put a label on this channel. But then you have this guy, I mean, just think about it. We're going to roll this, and I want you to just kind of ask yourselves a question. Is this guy really and truly in charge?
Would we look the other way? Would we be strong? Or would we be weak? Would we, all of our allies, would be united or divided?
Mr. President, any reaction to Putin saying he's pulling out a new start?
I don't have time.
No time?
No. Big mistake. Europe was being tested. America was being tested. NATO was being tested. All democracies are being tested. And the questions we faced were as simple as they were profound. Would we respond, or would we look the other way? The democracies of the world have to deliver for our people. As we gather tonight, the world, in my view, is at an inflection point. The decisions we make over the next 5 years or so are going to determine and shape our lives for decades to come. That's true for Americans. That's true for the people of the world. And while decisions are ours to make now, the principles and the stakes are eternal. The choice between chaos and stability, between building and destroying, between hope and fear, between democracy that lifts up the human spirit and the brutal hand of the dictator who crushes it, between nothing less than limitation and possibilities, The kind of possibilities that come when people who live not in captivity but in freedom. 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 There is no sweeter word than freedom. There is no nobler goal than freedom. There's no higher aspiration than freedom. Americans know that, and you know it. And all that we do now must be done so our children and grandchildren will know it as well. Freedom. The enemy of the tyrant and the hope of the brave and the truth of the ages. Freedom. Stand with us.
No, he's not in charge. And as I mentioned earlier, Pooty Poot more than likely does not respect him. So let me go ahead and tell you how this entire thing is going to end. I talked earlier about how it is that the Ukraine is trying to launch a counteroffensive into the Crimea. If you're going to launch a counteroffensive anywhere, why don't you launch it to the Donbas region? Why don't you launch it to the other regions that Putin has annexed? That doesn't make any sense. It seems to be more symbolic. And I don't think that Zelensky, who, by the way, people are assuming, people are right now are guessing he's on some other type of shit, I don't think he's thinking straight. I don't think that going for the Crimea is a very good idea, especially launching all of your men and all your forces into that area. I don't think it's a good idea. Also, something else too. When he mentioned children earlier, when he mentioned, "Are your children any different than ours?" Yes, they are. Our children are way different than yours. Okay. Maybe what you should have done was maybe you shouldn't have, I don't know, maybe violated the Minsk agreement. Maybe you shouldn't have done that shit. Maybe you shouldn't have done that crap there. Maybe you shouldn't have been adopting a lot of the wokeness stuff, which, by the way, got the Orthodox Church on Putin's side to go in there and do something, even though he was already planning on doing it. I mean, you could have came up with something. You could have maybe, I don't know, maybe done a treaty. Maybe your initial days, maybe when Putin saw that he wasn't going to be able to just roll around in and destroy that country, should have been enough to tell Vladimir Putin that, hey, look, maybe we might need to get an agreement here. Maybe you should have been trying for a ceasefire from the start. I mean, they have tried to negotiate peace deals, withdrawals. They've been trying to do this for a while, ceasefires. Ukraine keeps on spitting in their face. Not very smart. And now you want to launch an attack into the Crimea. I would agree with that move. The problem is, if you look at the map, the corridor that they're going in, it looks a little bit like a very familiar event in history, the Battle of Thermopylae Pass. It looks like you're going into a very, very narrow corridor. And something else, too, and I've got to say this to a lot of YouTube content creators who are all about stopping Russia now. And by the way, I mean, look, all you had to do was just, after those first initial 6 weeks, was sue for some type of peace agreement. Russia would have already had a massive amount of men lost. They wouldn't have the incentive to keep going the way they are. Because you see, right now what Russia is doing is they're using this war as an excuse to fuel the rest of their military. You see, a lot of these men who are in Russia, who are fighting in Russia, guess what they're doing? They're getting battlefield experience. They're going back home, and they know that when next time another war comes about, which will probably be sometime soon, because there's going to be other areas for Russia to go to. Because as I've said before, I think this is one step to a much, much larger operation. Azerbaijan or Armenia. What about Kaliningrad? It's technically theirs. I mean, the people there speak Russian. I mean, think about it. Russia could cause a lot of problems. Maybe what you should have been doing from the start there, Joe, was trying to get some type of peace agreement. But right now, what do we got? Death, destruction, and chaos. And there's probably going to be more death, destruction, and chaos. So I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. Here's how the war will end. I think the war will end like this here. It will be, once again, another long, drawn-out proxy war. It's been over a year, and it will continue to go on for a few years until somebody steps in and says you need to sign a peace agreement. This counteroffensive that Zelensky is wanting to launch in the Crimea, I don't believe it will succeed, and I believe more and more people will end up getting killed as a result. I don't like the move at all. I don't think that this entire ordeal will go nuclear. I don't think it will. I think Putin, for the most part, is posturing. I think he's saber-rattling. I don't think Biden has got the balls to do anything. And by the way, if you're going to fight Russia, you might as well just go ahead and fight them directly. I wouldn't be in favor of it. I wouldn't be for it. But, I mean, at least I would respect the fact that you grabbed your balls and pulled them out and you decided to use your cojones for a change there, Joe. But anybody who's paid attention to Joe Biden, who knows the Barack Obama MO, you know that what you're dealing with is basically an extremely more, how do I say, a more incompetent version of the Carter administration. That is what we are dealing with, okay? So you ask me how this thing will end. It will probably end in more wars, more proxy wars, maybe even a global war. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while. the more and more money we spend, the more and more likely is our economy completely falters. Nobody is talking about peace, and I can tell you right now that Germany, France, and all these other countries that claim that they want to help Ukraine out, okay. England, you decide you want to help us out by suddenly cutting men out of your military. Germany's not sending anything over other than cots and helmets. Seems to me like maybe they're anticipating the possibility that a lot of bodies are going to be coming back. I think that this current iteration in NATO is lazy, it's bloated, and it's just simply collecting off the U.S. tax dollar. And I think we need to reassess our. And I'm not saying we should get rid of NATO. I'm just simply saying we need to reassess our relationship. They can't just be sucking off of us, and they're not providing anything to the cause. They really and truly are not. Ukraine is collecting off the U.S. tax dollars. Zelensky, why don't you do us a favor, man? Why don't you go ask Germany, go ask France, go ask everybody else for some type of help. Stop asking us. Oh, then again, that's right. Joe's got a lot of things going on there in Ukraine that, quite frankly, trace back to him. I just figured I'd just throw that out there. Guys, John Claymore here, Short Timer Prepping. If you like this content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video south in the comment section. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts. This video right here will be on Short Timer tomorrow, which, by the way, will be Saturday, probably right around 12 o'clock. The video will also be out on Claymore, probably right around the same time on Sunday or maybe a little bit later on in the afternoon. Now, as of the time of thinking about this, like I said, the response about Matt Walsh and the influencers with the woke church, that right there will be out on Sunday on Claymore. I just realized something, but just kind of hit my brain exactly how busy I'm going to be tomorrow. Guys, like I said, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, share the video south in the comment section. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys later.